Welcome to Diversity Conversations, where we engage in thought-provoking dialogue to identify leadership solutions to today's most challenging conflicts. Stream live each week, Saturday 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. Hosted by Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategist and CEOs Eric Ellis and Tommy Lewis. Join us and add your voice to this engaging diversity conversation.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Ellis, and I'm the president and CEO of Integrity Development Corporation. And I'm joined this morning, this is actually pre-recorded though, by my good friend and brother, Tommy Lewis. Tommy, how are you?
Doing well. Tommy Lewis, president and CEO of Make It Plain Consulting. Eric, it's always a pleasure to be with you, as always, to have another rich conversation on diversity conversations. I'm excited about what we have in store today.
I'm excited about it as well. And for our community, you will see that today we brought some backup. In other words, this was pre-recorded on Thursday. And so Tommy and I, right now, this morning, we out golfing with the West Club, Black Golf Club in Cincinnati. Flavor Cup is this weekend. But we did not want to leave you all out. And we thought that there was a timely conversation that was needed about Black men and their support of Black women leaders. And then ultimately, we want to talk about the Vice President, Kamala Harris, who's running for President of the United States. And we do not want people to think in any way that Black men do not support her candidacy and her being the next president of the United States. And so we've asked these men to join us. And brothers, we thank you for that. I'd like you to start by just sharing, again, who you are, your name, where you're from, what you do, and why you chose to say yes to this conversation this morning. Who wants to start?
Oh, I started. My name is Roger Miller. I am here from Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm a retired military member from the U.S. Coast Guard. And I said yes because I enjoy listening and I love what they do. The platform is incredible.
Thank you, Roger. Sean, welcome, man. We just getting started. We just getting started. And so we've asked each person to go around and sort of say their name, who they are, where they're from, what they do, and why they said yes to this conversation. Roger just started. He's the first one, and whoever wants to go next, bingo.
Well, I'll go next. Am I on?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if I was on. I'm Christopher Pittman. I'm a pastor of historic First Ryan Baptist Church in Savannah, Georgia. And I said yes because the conversation is intriguing. And I've been good friends with Eric Ellis. I can't even tell you how long, but
a lot of basketball wars, man.
Yeah,
we up on a lot of people together.
Yeah. So I'll say my comments because I'm already ready to talk about why they're saying that. But yes, it's a very intriguing conversation.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and go next. My name is Sean Talley. I met Eric about 2-3 years ago. Eric was actually commissioned to recruit for Chief People and Diversity Officer, I think, position. I didn't end up taking the role, but in the process, Eric and I definitely forged. We forged a bond, and certainly saw that we were like-minded individuals, and we've kept in touch and kind of, I've watched what he was doing from afar, and same. And I think we've both been meeting to connect. You just meet those people that is like, you know what, that's a brother I'm gonna keep in touch with, and time goes by. So obviously, I kind of alluded to what my background is in diversity, human resources, and with a degree in political science. So when Eric told me about this, I didn't even let him get the sentence out of his mouth. I support this brother. So, I was already in. And so that is me. And I guess I'll pass it over to my college roommate and college teammate, Mr. Derek Terry.
Well, thank you, Sean. Well, that's why I'm on here. Sean invited me. No, I'm just kidding. But my name is Derek Terry. I work for the federal government. I'm also retired Army, Air Force, Reserve veteran, 28 years, as well as a retired educator, 20 years, and currently, like I said, work for the federal government. And the main reason I really got on, not outside of what Sean, we're like-minded, but one of the women that I look up to the most is my mom. She was a foot soldier. She marched with Reverend Shuttleworth and Martin Luther King Jr. And I'm originally from Birmingham. I reside in Waldorf. So politics has always been ingrained in me. Someone who unsuccessfully ran for Board of Education and commissioner out here in Charles County, but it was a blessing. Some people say, how can losing be a blessing?
Right.
Because you gain so much knowledge and you understand the politics and the racism and all the other stuff, all the other isms that go on it. So, I'm looking forward to, this discussion. So thanks for the invite.
Yeah,
So I've known this brother for 30 years, and I just found out that your mother marched with King. I mean, I knew about the whole Birmingham, Alabama thing, but I didn't know that. So that's
I'll
very
throw
cool.
this in there too before we move to the next person, that Tommy and I do not believe this is an accident, and we do not believe that this is the last time that we're going to come together, because we believe that that is the answer. It's not for us trying to wait to see who's going to become president. It's for us to actually identify what we can do together. And so as we listen to each other, we already are being inspired by the power and influence and potential that we have. And we can't just sort of live life outside of a stronger relationship with each other.
I agree. Yes.
Who's next?
I can go next. So my name is Derek Smith, and TJ is one who invited me into this session. I currently reside in Nashville, Tennessee. I met TJ at Tennessee State University, where we both matriculated through. I'm a little bit older than TJ. Currently, I'm a public affairs officer for the Department of Veteran Affairs in Atlanta, Georgia. I also own my own boutique communications firm where I assist with media relations in sports, everything from Super Bowls to high school sports. So the reason why I took this opportunity to join you gentlemen is because I worked on every level of government, from county, state to federal. And I know the importance of supporting people when they're doing the right thing and not supporting people who are not. And I also understand the power of women supporting women. But there's also a level where men, especially us Black men, have to support our Black women who are taking roles and running with them where we used to do. And we have to start stepping up ourselves as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just make an announcement. If you can mute your microphone when you're not speaking, because we hear a little bit of background conversation with somebody that may have the television. Okay, I think we have one more person that needs to.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Maurice Gallimore. I'm in Richmond, Virginia. I was brought on by Tommy Lewis. I've known Tommy since 2021. We both work in the DEI space. He's been instrumental in helping not only the agency, but myself. And he brought this topic to me, and I immediately said yes. I think it's an important topic, just to hear a group of men, specifically Black men, come together and have these conversations about why, the why. And hopefully we could really digest and come out with some good answers, and leave with some good information that we could share with our families and our communities and our church members. So I'm really looking forward for this evening's conversation. Thank you, guys.
We have one more guest that's joining us right now. Ken Wilson, welcome to the table, Ken.
Cute.
Hold on.
Yeah, we have just
But I
gone
seen the weather.
around and done our initial introductions. And so we're just asking brothers to say who they are, what they do, where they're from, and why they said yes to this conversation. You're the last one.
Ken may not be able to hear us. Ken, can you hear us? All right. We'll throw it back to you, Eric. Keep going as Ken would join us in his introduction.
Okay, I apologize for jumping on late. I just arrived in Dayton, Ohio at a Boys and Girls Club. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yes.
we can hear you.
Wait a minute. Can you guys hear me?
Coming in and out now.
All right. We may have to come back to Ken. We'll still kick it off.
Can you hear me?
It's like a commercial now, Ken. It's turned into, hey, can you hear me now? Can you?
We'll come back to Ken.
Yeah. You're in and out.
Okay. Just
Yeah.
Nope, still choppy.
All right.
So we'll go ahead and continue on, and then when it looks like it's smoothing out, Ken will come back and catch you up. So I'll ask the first question then, Tommy. There are 3 questions that I have here. You can answer whichever one you like. The first question is, what do you see as good about the relationship between Black men and women? Or what do you view as the greatest divide between Black men and women? So you can answer either of those.
Are you asking? Well, I guess I'll go first. I would think the greatest divide is to a degree men need to get rid of their inflated egos. I've learned over years that your ego can make you not see things that are there. And especially when you're young. And, Sean could probably attest to it. I was very arrogant when I was in college. I didn't care. It was all about me. But then as you get older, you realize that the egos can get in the way of opportunity. And I think when you look at Kamala, I think that most Black men, you don't want anybody to disrespect our sister, but you don't respect the fact that she's running. And, that's where I'm at with it. We would just have to really just put our egos to the side and look beyond ourselves. And I think that's really the biggest issue with men when it comes to women.
Right. So let me ask you this as a follow-up. So would you say that you agree then a bit with Obama's kind of scolding? Because people have been looking at that and saying all kind of reaction. I understood some of his frustration.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, how do you define Black? If I come from Birmingham, am I more Black than the person who comes from Oakland? Black is an experience. Regardless of where you live at, I don't care where you go at. In the eyes of everybody else, I'm still going to be Black. Unless I can pass for white, which I know I can't.
Right.
So I totally agree with him. And it's the egos. To me, it's just the egos.
Anybody else want to weigh in on that question? Can we hear you? We can see you.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, I'm
Right.
downtown Dayton, Ohio, man. I am at a Boys and Girls Club event, and I was on the board of the Boys and Girls Club, Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, for 15 years. And so I had the opportunity to come up here, man, and I just finished a brief conversation with Charles Barkley, who's the keynote speaker at this event.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm thankful to him, man, that he came. I thanked him for coming to Dayton, Ohio.
Right.
But I grew up with Eric. Eric and I are childhood friends, went to high school together, played a lot of basketball together. I've been married for almost 35 years, got 4 kids. And professionally, I'm in my 3rd act. I was with Procter & Gamble for 21 years. I was a Chick-fil-A franchisee for about 4 years, and I've been building a wealth management firm for the last 11 years. So you add all that up, and it's a brother in his 60s. You know what I'm saying? And I appreciate the opportunity to be on here to learn from you guys, man. And just a quick response, Eric, to your question. And I don't want to over spiritualize it, man, but we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places, in the division of Black men and Black women, the destruction of our families and our communities. It's intentional, man, and it's accelerated with social media. But underlying all of that, man, I just think Black men have failed our families and failed our communities. That the first man in a woman's life is her biological father. And if your biological father is not there as a nurturer, as a guide, as a protector, as a provider, as a safety net, if my dad is not the safety net and I gotta, create these superficial relationships with men to pay my bills, then it's destructive, and there's a resentment. And there's a reason why many of our brothers are in the situations that we're in. But I just think fundamentally, man, Black men have failed our families and communities. Some, not all, but enough to where it's had an impact on the relationship, on the us against them, and it breaks my heart to see that when I see on social media or something, brothers not supporting Kamala, and I just been praying about it, man. I don't have not one answer, but that's my perspective of it.
Right. Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Ken, I thought that was loaded. We're going to hear from some other brothers. We're talking to brothers who are experienced, who are wise in their life, who have been connected to different organizations that are designed to help not only Black men, but the community at large. And you tapped into the spirituality piece. I would like to go back to what Brother Derek Terry said around that ego. So with all that we have come to be as Black men, why do we, in some cases, still not support the women of our civilization? Not to get too whatever, but why? Is it ego? Is it embarrassment? Is it shame? Is it ignorance? We have this woman, Kamala Harris. Their support for her as a Black woman. And then there's another thing about trying to elect her into the highest position in the land. Just want to continue to hear the thoughts from the brothers around how we are or are not supporting Black women and Kamala in particular.
And I want to thank Sean for helping us all to use the features that are part of our technology, the hand raising function. So Sean, you had your hand raised up first. Let's go ahead and go to you. Thank you.
Yeah, before I get to my comment, Ken, I will say that Derek is a big fan of the Chick-fil-A milkshakes. He's been telling me about those for years, so he might be pinging you after this to see if you got some sort of hookup for him, because he's been telling me about them for years.
Right.
So I look at this from perhaps maybe a much broader perspective. One of my undergraduate degrees is in history and political science. And when you look at things from that perspective about the dynamics of social control, power dynamics, and that sort of thing, what I personally believe is the biggest mistake that people of color have made in this country is adopting the Eurocentric mindset of individualism. Okay. That's not how we were built. you know.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
and the African societies that we came from, North Africa, West Africa, even Central Africa, many of those societies were matriarchal, even matrilineal. So your lineage was traced through your mother, even. So that's the power of the equality that existed there. And so we've come to this country, and frankly, we've adopted a mindset and a set of behaviors that do not work for us. And the fact is, they don't work for white people either, right?
Right.
Right. But white people they've subjugated their women and oppressed them and this and that. And as part of our collective conditioning here, we've adopted that same thing. And so to me, when I think of, we got a lot of labor and HR and diversity people, you think about what was the only time we were really able to stick it to the capitalists, and that was in the 50s with the union movement. And ever since then, really getting a boost from Ronald Reagan, as we know, the essence of unions were destroyed. Now, I'm not going to make this a conversation about whether unions are good or bad. What I'm saying is collective behavior, okay? Right. Collectivism. And we've gotten to the point where even somehow socialism is a bad word. And so when we think about things from an individual standpoint, we're not thinking about how do I leave this better than how I found it. So the people like Derek's mother, who was out there marching, she wasn't thinking about herself. She was thinking about leaving things better than how she found it. And so the fact is, until we understand on a very deep level that individualism is not how we're going to thrive as a people in this land, and understand. And so when you think specifically about Kamala, I think there are several issues. I think, as Derek mentioned, ego is one thing, and the fact is, let's be honest, when we get into, some of those conversations that we don't have outside, okay, she's light skinned, she's educated, she's divine nine. There's a lot of brothers out there that are colorist, that don't like bougie light-skinned girls. She got the white husband. But I'll say, hold up. I grew up in DC. I was down at them parties at Howard Homecoming. She was right there. She was right there at them parties. And so I'm saying, hey, if y'all brothers let her go, she was out there stepping on Georgia Avenue eating at Ben's Chili Bowl. So y'all let her slip away, then that's on us. Our scouting team failed, And but my point is, I think that there is a lot of layers to this, but I think there some of it is just straight up hate, some of it is ego. And as we know, the male ego has been so punctured and impaled and pierced. We often think that we have to have some sort of control over the woman to keep her here or keep her in line. And that's just not how we should be thinking, because when you think about it statistically, institutional racism, a bunch of us may have done well, but the fact is, if you look statistically, we ain't getting paid like that as brothers, and so if you're looking at your relationship based on me making more than the woman and all that kind of stuff, you got to get out of that Neanderthal stuff, because the numbers don't work for us. They just don't.
Right. Let me offer this before Derek. I'm going to come right to you next. Thank you, Sean. I'd say a couple things to just keep in mind. Let's make no mistake that probably 85% of Black men are going to vote for Kamala.
Right. Yep.
So let's be clear that she is going to get an overwhelming amount of support from Black men. We don't want the media to create our whole discussion around why aren't Black men? Okay.
Yep.
But I think that we are mature enough to understand that we've spoken to enough Black men that are struggling, that we're having a nuanced conversation that says, although there's this overwhelming amount of support, there's still a lot of opportunity. And so that's what we're speaking to. I just want to make sure that I balance.
Well, I think to your point, though, what's important about that is we know we have the overwhelming majority, but the reality is you know, if any candidate for president that's a Republican, if they can peel somewhere into the double digits,
Right.
that starts to become a problem.
Yes, it does.
So
Yes, it does.
we want it to be around 95%, or
I agree.
or it could be some issues. So I think that the other issue is honestly it's just a failure of our educational system. We don't teach cause and effect. I had a brother talk. I was talking to him, texting the other day, and he gave the old, well, X X politician hasn't done anything for black men. And I said, well, do you understand how politics works? If you can't deliver votes or money, nobody's going to respond to you. And we statistically have been dead last in delivering votes and money. I mean, that's the game. And so we got to understand how to play this game a little better too. But I don't want to monopolize
That's right.
time.
Derek?
So, Sean, I'll be heading to DC tomorrow, actually, for Howard's homecoming. Tennessee
Okay.
State is playing against them on Saturday. The good and the bad. One thing I think that needs to be stressed is I don't think that enough black men are vocalizing that they are supporting terrorists in this presidency.
Wow.
Two, no one wants to relinquish their privilege or power. And as black men, we do not want to relinquish privilege and power to black women. And I'm not saying that black men shouldn't be the head of their homes. I'm saying in the professional world, in the political world, women have a voice as well. I had to write down some notes because I also think that black women have a better support group than black men do. This right here is great. This meeting, this podcast is excellent, but it needs to be 500 brothers on this podcast instead of us, just us. And we need to start sharing information and start sharing resources because much like Derek Terry, I'm in a fraternity. And, we've had these conversations within the fraternity, yet it needs to extend further than Phi Beta Sigma, farther than Alpha Phi Alpha, and all the other D9 organizations that'll be having these conversations. It's very important that, one, when it comes to relationships, that we have to understand that black women are the fastest growing population of educated people in this country. So who are they going to turn to when they look for someone to mate? I had a conversation yesterday. I went to a restaurant and got some food, and I asked the two young ladies, when you decide to date someone, do you look for someone who's going to be able to provide for you or someone you just are attracted to? And of course, they said attracted to. They were 33 and 28 years old. And I don't think people are having these real conversations about what do you seek in a mate, and or do you even desire to have one, or are you looking for someone just to take care of you only? I'm not going to father. I got 3 daughters. I'm not going to father a 4th daughter unless I marry someone with a child. Yet, what I'm saying is, I don't want to just be with someone and just be a sugar daddy, whatever they call them these days. I don't know. But I'm looking for someone who does bring something to the table. And that way we can eat well and be happy sitting at that table together. So I do think that I see several successful black couples. And I also think that it comes from them being not even evenly yoked, but on the same page and having the same desire to do the same thing and reach the same goals. That's very important. So yes, I think there are good and I think there are bad sides to black men and black women relationships.
Maurice, I think you were next.
Yeah, thank you. I've been enjoying the conversation. I think it starts with a few things. I think the first is upbringing. I think as black men, we are all from different lived experience. Black men from Canada, black men from the Caribbean, Black men from the South, Black men from the North, Black men from the West, Black men from the UK, Africa. So everyone brings a different experience to the table. And so that's a part of the support of Black women. The other thing is, what is that support? You know, yeah, you may have a two-parent household, but what was that for you growing up? You know, you could still have two people in the household, but it was almost like they weren't there. You know, we've all know someone in the family or someone that we know growing up that all lived in the same household. One brother went this way, one brother went this way, or one sister went this way, the other sister went this way. So I think it's the support we received as a child and then the trauma. You know, some of us have dealt with some trauma during our upbringing, and we haven't got the help or the support we needed. So we still have that chip on our shoulder. And so sometimes it could be colorism. You know, if you're a dark skinned brother back in the 70s and 80s, you know, it wasn't until Michael Jordan or my man Wesley Snipes came around that it was like, okay, you see me now, you know. And so it was like the Albie Shore and the Wesley Snipes. But someone said it earlier, we're all Black. And so colorism plays a big role, trauma plays a big role, but then your spiritual foundation. You know, there are folks who are Muslim, there are folks who are Christian, there are folks who are atheists, there are folks who are still saying, you know, God is my nature. We have a variety of different folks who have different viewpoints, and I think it makes it difficult sometimes to have these conversations because people are just so set on their lived experience that they don't want to hear anything else. So I think it's so important for us to really have these conversations that we could leave here and really think about how we could be a better version of ourselves going forward.
Thank you for that, Maurice. I want to pivot. Tommy and I do this periodically on our show. We'll say, let's slow this thing down. And I've got something that I'd like us to do that in some ways I'm hoping may even be a gift to Kamala Harris. I was just thinking about us. I'd like each of us to take a moment to share a message sort of with Kamala. If Kamala was here listening to us, what would you want to say to her? And I'll start. I'd like to say, Kamala, I'm so proud of you, girl. You need to know that we've got your back. I've watched you come out of the shadows. I've watched you be a stereotype where they said that we couldn't even hardly put you out on the public because you were a gaffe machine. But you have come out in such a big way that you've made us proud. And I've been so proud of being able to watch my daughter and my wife look at the TV and see you standing up for us. And so we had this meeting because we wanted to say, we love you, we're pulling for you, sister, and we've got your back. Anybody else?
Sister Kamala, the African proverb is a person convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. Our ancestors have said we don't try to convince people against their will. The story that you're living right now has already been written. There is no need to try to convince others because they may go wherever they go.
Right.
But I know right now in this moment, these brothers have come together and I have happily joined them to vocalize not just the support, but I'm going to throw that four-letter word out there, love. Love is what we need and what we know is happening. And so as you continue to go through your career and make it to the next level, please know that there are people seen and unseen that love you and are praying for you. God is also powerful. And my word to you is to be you, to do you, and to know whom you are.
Guess I'll go. I'll keep it real simple. First thing I'm gonna say is bye ski. We're gonna get that out the way. She'll remember that. And look, I ain't going back. She ain't going back. Ain't nobody going back. I'm gonna keep it that simple.
We won't go back.
Keep it that simple.
Love it. Next.
I'll go next. I'll say ever since the election of Barack Obama, our sisters have been saving us, including through, when they cheated Stacey Abrams and all she did was deliver Georgia the next round. So Kamala, when I see you, I see that this is not only your moment, but this is the moment for all of my sisters, and you are ready. We have your back. Mary McLeod Bethune said the true worth of a race must be measured by the character of its woman. And you got this. You are the worth of our race. Your character is impeccable. We got your back. Bring it on home.
That's right. Someone else.
Yeah, I'll go, Eric. Can you hear me good on this phone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, T, man, I didn't even notice you, man. What's up, baby?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm
LA's
driving
in the house.
Yes, sir. I'm driving as I talk to you guys.
Right.
I just want to say this. I hear in the media that a lot of people have a problem with women running things or taking charge and being in control. But I bring it down to a scale that I understand is that I bring it on the scale, on the level of me and my wife in my household. Now, a lot of people ask me, how do I feel about her being the breadwinner in my home? And I said, if they want to call it that I'm weak, I'll be strong enough to be weak, to allow my wife to be strong, to show that the equal, it's not equal. It don't have to always be equal 50-50. To reach 100%, it's not always going to be 50-50. My wife was qualified to show that if I lack, she got it because we are partner. So I put it on a bigger scale. Kamala Harris proved she have the ability and is qualified to run this great nation, and then to be the leader of the world. Really, she's proven she have the power to do all that.
Right.
And if we turn around and put the wig on a lot of the other presidents who's been the president, we will see that you will already see that. Hey, their abilities will be questionable.
Right.
If they thought they were women. But Kamala Harris is qualified. And this, when you look at it like this, I'm not looking at it as no lady or no man. She's the president.
Right.
She got my vote for sure.
Thank you, Terry. And I promise you, gentlemen, that I'm going to get this to her site. I'm going to make sure that this note gets to her so that she can hear what we have to say.
I can go next.
Yeah.
I'll say, Kamala, continue to be you, authentically you. No one could be a better version of you than you. I think you're doing a wonderful job. Continue to be positive. Continue to know that you have support far and near, and that you are adored all over the world. Continue to work hard, as we have always done, and continue to always be excellent. We are so proud of you.
Okay, I'll go next. I would say to Kamala Harris, I'm impressed. I'm impressed because I'm an athlete, and I understand that when you're on the bench and it don't seem like you're gonna get in the game,
right,
the most important thing you can do is stay ready. And I'm impressed that when they called you off the bench, you came in the game ready. You came in the game with a game plan, and as though you had prepared for this moment. And so, male or female, black or white, I'm impressed with your ability to step up and perform when you got the opportunity, because it don't come very often. This your one-time shot, and don't believe the hype. Black men do support you.
Right. Come on,
The
girl.
white media wants you to believe that we don't support you, but we do. We love you, and maybe we are not vocal enough, but the biggest voice we got is in that voting booth. We're going to show you.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah, I just real quick want to say, Kamala, girl, I'm the top wealth management advisor in the country.
Come on now. Bring
let's
that money.
Let's talk about a strategy to close the wealth gap. And this is in all sincerity and seriousness. I would like to see a grassroots strategy to pass generational wealth from one Black generation to the next. And somebody's got to go first, man. And I was in Baltimore a couple of weeks ago, and I talked to 400 Black P&G engineers. And I had everybody stand up. And I said, remain standing if you know the first and last name of both biological parents. One young lady sat down, and then afterwards she told me she was adopted. She didn't know who her biological parents were. I said, remain standing if you know the first and last name of all four biological grandparents. About a third of the room sat down. My father never knew his father. I have no idea who my paternal grandfather is. I said, remain standing if you know the first and last name of all 8 of your biological great-grandparents. 95% of the room sat down. And so what that says, if you don't intentionally leave a financial legacy, your family's going to forget you in 2 generations. Your fraternity, your entrepreneurship, your love story, the baton of faith. And that is one of the biggest things that I would like to see President Harris address.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that hasn't shared their thoughts? Roger? We can't hear you. You're on mute.
Yeah. This is a good word for Kamala's.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I would just say after that, her uniqueness of your oneness is for everybody. You know, she has taken what is so unique about her and have shared it with the world. And I appreciate that.
I do too. Thank you, Roger. Derek Smith, did you speak already?
I did not, but I will share this right here. One thing my grandmother used to say is they talked about Jesus. In other words, people gonna always have something to say about you.
Right.
The thing is, as someone mentioned earlier, be your authentic self. Continue to do you, because look how far it's gotten you. Right now, you're the vice president of the United States. Probably wasn't even a dream of hers as a little girl, you know, because it wasn't something that was even conceivable, but it was achievable, and she didn't even know it. So this next step is achievable if we continue to support her and back her.
Oh, yeah.
Never forget that. I never forget when Barack Obama came on the scene. And I don't know about you all, but most of us didn't think that America was ready for a Black man to be president. And then out of nowhere, Barack Obama hit the scene. And at first, I know some of us were saying, well, Hillary's a good choice. I mean, she's been married to, Clinton, and he was a good president. And we laughed and said he was the first Black president and all like that. But once we start seeing that, it looks like he might be able to win. We got on board And I'll never forget the day that he won the presidency. I took my little kids. I don't drink, smoke, get out, none of that. I took them to a bar so that we could be around other Black people. And I remember feeling like I was a part of America, because now finally America has elected somebody that looks like me to be president. And in many ways, I think we may be hitting that same place with Kamala Harris, where we didn't think that America was ready for a woman president, certainly not a woman of color president. But right now, the way that she's carrying herself right now, I just feel overwhelmed that this is an opportunity that we're going to see through, and she's going to save this country in many ways with our backing. And that's our job. Our job is to be the background singers and really help carry this across the finish line. And I know that every time I get an urge, man, how many of y'all they sending all these little text messages for money? I'm a fool for all of them because I keep sending 50, 100, 75. I mean, I just keep hitting send because I want to see this happen. I want to open the floor. We've got about 10 minutes left. Is there anything that somebody...
Yeah, I think it's important, similar to what I would call the Obama effect, to some degree, to kind of manage expectations.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't want, it's okay, because the fact is we know that the institutional and structural racism still exists. We know that they are fighting hard to keep that in place. But, I had no delusions of what would happen after Barack Obama was elected. But what I wanted to see is I wanted the image of this suited up professional Black man to get beamed all around the world 24/7 and to see this man in leadership. So you know what? Yes, it mattered what he did, but to some degree, I wasn't expecting him to end racism. I don't expect Kamala to end sexism, but you know what? I do want her to, I want her to be able to share that image. This past, a couple weeks ago, Dominique Dawes opened up a gym around the corner from my house. She did a whole grand opening. I took the girls there. And I got to chat with her. Her high school was like right down the road from my high school. We all rooted for Dominique. But when you think about Dominique Dawes back in 1996, the only one out there. Now we look at Simone Biles and the rest of them because they got to see it. Little girls just like yours, they saw Simone Biles and them saw Dominique Dawes doing that. Right. And so the beauty of this is, Kamala gets elected, there's going to be a generation of, say, 15, 16-year-olds that when they think of presidents, they think of Obama, Kamala, and a couple old white dudes. But that's their thinking. And that honestly, to me, real change happens a generation at a time because people die. Okay. And so I'm Generation X, and there are things and hangups that I have in my head, but children, certain millennials, they don't have some of the hangups that we have because they've seen this. I have several friends that are African, for example. And one of the things I've always, not so quietly, been a little bit jealous of is they are not raised with any limitations because where they were born, the doctors were Black, the pilots were Black, everything was Black. And so they think more entrepreneurially, they think big picture, they think to the sky, and so just the beauty of just having that image out there is what I want for her. And I saw it so much with Barack Obama where he had to be everything for everybody. And you had people like Cornel West and the other brother going after him every 5 seconds. And I'm like, look, to be honest, I'm happy that a brother got to be up there for a minute and to present that image because it matters.
Right. Tommy, I'm going to ask you to weigh back in here just right and say, but I just wanted to say something about Obama that I think is absolutely going to happen with Kamala, is where it's happening with Kamala. Is I remember the most powerful thing I remember about Obama. There are a lot of things that I remember, but I remember the first time that he pimped to the podium. I mean, he looked like us. I mean, he just had that Obama black walk. And I was like, yes, that's us. I remember the little boy that looked up to him and he touched his hair and he felt like he was him. And I think that we have that same opportunity to feel like you don't have to do anything for me. Just show people who we are and how amazing we are. Tommy.
Yeah, I would say, just to double back to what Sean has said, that I don't know how many of us, even within our sphere of influence, going back 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 years, could have fathomed this moment.
Right.
As well as with Obama a few years back, we have experienced, Black folks in America have experienced significant achievements in a short period of time. I would like to hearken this back to still the time of desperate need, civil rights, 60s and the 50s. When there was a desperate need for the civil rights and human rights of our people, we were extra innovative. We were extra assertive and aggressive, right? Affirmation was our common language. We use language like we, right? We will overcome, etc. And the change was coming, the change was coming, the change was coming. But now, just like the advent of technology, where technology is evolving, it seems like every day, something's new. There's another edition. With Kamala's position now to literally change the arc of how Black women are seen in the world.
Yes.
I think that, this is from me, it will create a tsunami of young people of color, not just Black folks,
right,
who are going to raise up knowing no different than success. They would not have experienced any in the difficulties of the 40s, 50s, and 60s. They simply know, I can and I will. It's a phenomenal moment that we're in, that the ancient Egyptians used to call God, or Amun-Ra, the happening. They believed that anything that happened was the higher spirit, so they call it the happening. I believe that we're in the moment of the happening. Something phenomenal is happening, including bringing us brothers together to stamp this in infamy, broadcast it, and to have our community revisit this conversation as, okay, these brothers from different spaces in this world were kind of saying the same thing, right? In one way or another, about great potential. I'm so excited and so blessed to be a part of this conversation.
Same here. So Kamala, I'd like to say that you've already begun to bring us together, because anytime somebody's talking about a family member of ours, then we're going to get involved. And I believe that it is God ordained, gentlemen, that we are here on this call together. I would say to you that my perspective is that oftentimes we as a people, our response to inequality has been to either complain, protest, or work harder. And we can't get to a positive future through any one of those avenues. I think it's until we come up out of working hard and protesting and complaining, and we begin to lock arms with other people of goodwill, we do not accomplish that which we are seeking. And I think that this is a moment where we're going to send around a directory of you all's names and then see what God has in store for us to do together. And I want to open up the floor if there's anybody that has a last word that you want to share as we bring this to a close? This is not the end of our conversation together, but it's the end of the time that we have for the show. Is there anybody that has something final that you want to share?
I think Tommy hit on
Go ahead. I apologize.
Tommy hit on something that made me want to share this. I truly think that integration was one of our greatest handicaps because we stopped seeing that Black excellence in the community that someone mentioned that African people actually experience. Well, in America, when we weren't integrated, we saw Black excellence. I grew up in a really small town in West Tennessee where I saw Black principals, Black teachers, Black grocery store owners, Black gas station owners. I saw our insurance man was Black that came to our house.
Oh.
You know, I knew my grandparents. So I experienced,
Right.
when I got to college and I talked to people, they said they never had a Black teacher. I'm like, dude, I never did not have a Black teacher.
Right.
And when I had Black and white teachers, but it was never, I think outside of the first or second grade, that I didn't have a Black teacher. So I think integration did sort of hurt us in a way because we found out that the white people ice wasn't colder.
That's right. That's right.
Right. So as we wrap up, here's what I want to do. Have everybody come on screen, and I'd like for everybody to be able to take a screenshot and then post it to your social media, Black Men Support Kamala. So let's all come on camera if you can.
See, I don't know how we.
Right. There you go.
Yes, sir.
Do a snip. Hold up.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Come on, Dr. Audley. Yeah, come on.
Everybody on? So I
1,
can do the
2,
snip.
3.
Got it.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Indeed.
It's been great, but I actually have to go. So
Okay.
We do as well.
I'll catch you up. Appreciate the invite.
Right.
See you Saturday,
Thanks for the
Sean.
invite. Gotta go
All
as
right,
well.
gentlemen,
Have
I
a
want
good
to
evening.
thank you all for joining us for this show. I'll send a link to all of you so you'll have it. We will show it on Saturday morning, and I'm going to send it to everybody I can, including some of the media outlets, because I want them to have evidence of Black men saying we support Kamala. I appreciate you all, man. Tommy, we couldn't have imagined that we'd have a more powerful conversation. Tommy, you want to close us out with the final?
Yeah, you're spot on, Eric. Again, thank you all for joining us again for another conversations on Diversity Conversations every Saturday morning, 9:30 Eastern, other times and other places, but it's still Diversity Conversations. You can find us on every platform. This is not the end. This is not the middle. This is the beginning. We'll see you next week. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Take care of the world. We love you. Diversity Conversations.
Bye now.
Bye now.